John?
Here.
Kylie?
Here.
Fred?
Here.
Kathy? Here. Jeff?
Here.
Dan?
Here.
I'm here. Mark?
Here.
And Sarah.
Here.
9 present.
A quorum is present. May I have a motion for the proofs of notice to be accepted as proper notice and to proceed with the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I have a motion for the approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Jeff?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 1, public comments. I have a sign-up sheet, and the first one on the sheet is Jessica Noble.
Good evening. I'm Jessica Noble from Spring Green. I want to thank most of our board members and the administration through this difficult time in our district. Thank you to all the teachers in this district who provide an amazing education for all of our students. River Valley ranks 66 out of 367 school districts in the state of Wisconsin. In comparison to our neighboring districts, we exceed all others. Heights is ranked 117th. Sauk is ranked 168th. Ithaca is ranked 257th. Richland is ranked 274th. This speaks volumes for our teachers. Teaching is a thankless job. My husband and I chose to stay in River Valley because of the academic programs offered. We both graduated from River Valley and couldn't be prouder to raise our family here. Our students are offered many programs that will advance them in college, and our skilled trades programs offer more than any other district around us. We have an excellent school district. All of this could go away because our community can't move forward and are being filled with lies from a current board member. We need to concentrate on the 1,203 students that we are currently serving as a district. We have to keep the current students we have. If we cut programs, we'll lose more students because of the other districts will be able to serve them better. In 2016-17 school year, 52 students enrolled in and 105 enrolled out. In the 2017-18 school year, 53 enrolled in and 118 enrolled out. For the current school year, 60 enrolled in and 125 enrolled out. River Valley sends out surveys to get feedback for the families enrolling out. The majority of all answers are because of the location of where we live and them being more convenient to enroll in a neighboring district. We need to remember how large of an area River Valley serves. For many families, it's much closer to go to the school district they live by. Even though their homes are in the River Valley area, they are closer to Richland Center, Heights, or Dodgeville. If the board is forced to make drastic cuts, this will be the end of River Valley, as many families will open and enroll their children out to offer them the programs in school that we had. Again, we have to keep the students we currently have, and we have to stop focusing on the ones that are out. Everybody has a choice to enroll out. And with the schools closing, we haven't saw a change in the kids enrolling out of our district. We have the 1,200 kids that we need to focus on. Every week getting the home news is hard, as I know I'm going to read more lies that are spread by a board member that does not base anything on facts. We need to move forward as a district, and we need to give our children the best opportunities we can. All of these children, they are our future. And personally, I ask that we vote for the same referendum that we had last time, so that we don't have to make drastic cuts. I don't think making cuts to programs is going to do anything for our district, and this time with the cuts being laid out, I think people will be able to see the bigger picture of what's at stake.
Thank you, Jessica.
Yep.
Brian Cry.
Hi, you guys. Brian Cry, River Valley father, alumnus, and business manager. So
I just wanted to come tonight as the business manager of the River Valley School District. I want to let you know that I'm unaware of how school board member Mr. Daniel J. McGuire obtains his data or information for his letters to the home news or the information he provides to the people he talks with in our community. In his nearly 2 years in the school board, Mr. McGuire has only called the district office one time to request, obtain, or confirm any information about the River Valley School District. Meanwhile, he continues to state that the district finances are being mismanaged. I've repeatedly asked Mr. McGuire to call me, stop by for a face-to-face meeting, or email me if he has questions, concerns, or is in need of information. As he continues to write letters to the editor with inaccurate information, I feel it's my duty to ensure the stakeholders of the River Valley School District have accurate information. In regards to his letter in the issue of January 9th, he states that some factors, quote, some factors that we do not have control over are shopping major expenses for a better price like health insurance, end quote. This statement is inaccurate. Each spring, most of you guys know, the River Valley School District Budget and ERC Committee gathers bids from different health insurance providers and health insurance plans. In addition, all 3 districts named in Mr. McGuire's letter, Dodgeville, Sauk Prairie, and Platteville, along with River Valley, require employees to pay 12.6% of the health insurance premium. This percentage is identical to most school districts in the state. Next, in the same letter, Mr. McGuire stated, I refuse to desperately throw my hands up in the air, placing blame on the state, and then going after taxpayer dollars for an easy and pathetic 3-year fix. This comment is opinion, but I would like to share some information about recent operational referendums across our state. According to the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction, during the last 3 calendar years, there have been 186 operational referendums. An operational referendum is a referendum to exceed the revenue limit to support or maintain district programs or activities. Out of these 186 operational referendums across the state, approximately 145 are districts classified as rural or town, according to the National Center of Educational Statistics. The passing rate for these 145 referendums in rural or town districts is 82%, 119 have passed. So going to referendum for operational purposes in the state of Wisconsin is not unique nor pathetic. It is unfortunately necessary and common. Finally, Mr. McGuire stated, quote, a school is a business and it must not be run differently just because it's called a school. A few decades ago, Jamie Vollmer, a business leader in Iowa, made a similar statement. After attending a business roundtable dedicated to understanding and improving public schools, Mr. Vollmer changed his opinion and is an advocate for public schools. He now states that, quote, unlike business, schools are unable to control the quality of their raw material. They are constantly mauled by a howling horde of disparate competing customer groups, and they are dependent upon the vagaries of politics for a reliable revenue stream. Our goals as a public school district are not based on annual profits. Our goals as a public school district are based on hope, opportunity, development, and preparation of our students' knowledge and skills for their future. And we are doing an awesome job of this. In conclusion, I'd like to remind all of you guys that if you have any questions, concerns, or are in need of information related to the district, please let me know. We are providing an awesome education at River Valley, which I am very proud to be a part of. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Any other public comments at this time? We'll move on to item number 2, student council report. Casey Maxwell will be giving the report today.
Good evening. I am student council, oh my gosh, I just blanked on the word. What's the word? Advisor. Oh my goodness, thank you. Good thing I have this to read from, otherwise and both of my girls were not able to make it tonight, so I'm just going to read through what we have for you. The Ag and FFA program, Ms. Graffunder, has been very, very busy lately, so there's quite a list from her. The food science class has created over 20 dozen cookies and other creations for the Spring Green Cookie Walk. They have conducted labels such as making jerky and different ice cream recipes. The RVFFA supported 2 families for the Cops for Kids program. They have been participating in this program for over 6 years. Sherry Graffunder is the NAAE, the National Association of Agricultural Educators, board serving as the Region 3 Secretary for the 2019 school year. She attended the national conference in November to collaborate with other instructors from across the nation. Also, attending the FFA Halftime Leadership Conference this Friday and Saturday will be Tiffany Neuheisel, the FFA Vice President, and Mia Hillenbrand, the FFA Secretary. Ms. Graffunder will be traveling with them as she is serving on the Wisconsin FFA Center Board of Directors as Section 3 and 4 representative. Graffunder serves as Vice Chairperson and Budget Committee member for this board. The FFA members are busy preparing for leadership development events and career development events, which are coming up in January and March. Connor Mickelson has been selected as one of the 20 state-level nominees for the National U.S. Presidential Scholars Program. The next level competition for him will be emailed, and he'll find out that next week. After careful consideration of 14 applicants for the agriculture teacher position of the National FFA Organization Board of Directors, the board members have nominated Dave Grossman from California, Shara Graffunder from Wisconsin, and Jesse Limpkins from Tennessee. The FFA advisor, or the National FFA advisor, so one of these 3 nominees will be selected to fill the position on the FFA board, which starts in July. So Sherry will keep us updated on her position as that comes out. For high school math, Mr. Cry visited Mr. Filmansky's AP statistics class to talk about federal funding formula, the mill rate calculations, and his students really enjoyed that presentation and had a lot of really good questions. I don't know if Mr. Cry wants to elaborate on that.
Yeah.
High school science students, Mr. Eric Johnson's AP biology class took a field trip to the Pro Mega Biotech Company in December, and they had a really great time with that too. Additionally, in the high school, students and staff are prepping for finals, which are Wednesday and Thursday next week, so that will conclude our semester, and then second semester courses will start the following week. For the middle school, the Ecology Project International has offered middle school science teacher Heather Meichelsberger a teacher fellowship in Baja, Mexico this spring. I don't know, Mr. Radke, if you have anything to add to that?
I can update you as that date gets a little bit closer, but she was chosen for a teacher fellowship. It's a very exciting opportunity for her.
And that's all the information I have. Thank you.
And I just wanted to make one follow-up note. Our ACT class that we offer at our high school continues to not only draw kids from River Valley, but a number of students from our neighbors, including students of teachers and staff members at neighboring school districts are coming to the ACT prep program that Megan Bunkelman, Phil Mansky, Mike Hill, and Lisa Schofield run for our students. Cool.
Interesting.
It's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
It is a good thing.
All illusions, but good things nonetheless.
Item number 3, update on potential sale of arena building. I was at their board meeting on Tuesday night, and they have some surveys out, and they just sent some surveys out in the mail this week. They're gonna make a decision next month at their board meeting, so that will give us enough time to make our decision at our next board meeting.
What's the date of that?
February 5th is the first Tuesday of the month. I think that's the 5th. Is that correct?
Yes.
That is correct, and I've been in contact with Jay Jones, the chairperson of the school building committee, and provided him some additional information regarding the building for the school district. So they continue to move forward, which is a good thing.
Item number 4, grant awarded for 5th grade overnight trip from National Resources Foundation of Wisconsin.
And that's it. The 5th grade teachers were able to obtain a $420 grant for from the Go Outside Fund for their annual outdoor education experience.
Great.
Thank you, Tom. Item 5, board reminders, announcements, and training opportunities. I have 2 reminders. The first one is the 2019 Day at the Capitol is March 13th, and it might be interesting to go this year just with the change in leadership in our state level. You can hear some briefings on the state budget and how it might affect our school, talk to some of your legislators or their representatives. So that's March 13th, and I think you can talk to Paula if you want to get signed up for that.
If you've never been, it's a nice day. Most of the elected officials are expecting people from this education community in their offices and are there and available.
Do you guys go? You go?
I have in the past. I did not last year, but I have in the past.
Okay.
Did you find it worthwhile?
I think it's worthwhile. You get to talk to, you can have personal conversations with your elected officials, which is nice.
When does that start? Is that morning, afternoon?
It's I think it's a 1-day.
It's,
all
yeah,
day.
March
It's on a
13th.
Wednesday, March 13th.
And usually it's like a 9 to 4.
Yeah.
they make themselves available 9 AM to 4
Well, they
PM.
have a presentation.
They usually have a
program in the
presentation.
morning, they have lunch, and then you go over to the cabinet.
I have one more reminder, and it's about the oath of office that we all took when we became school board members. And in it, it says, "We will faithfully discharge the duties of said office to the best of my abilities." Is this the best of my abilities? If this is the best of my abilities, I've got concerns. I was also looking at the policy, educational philosophy, and goals. In there, it says that we're here to promote clear communication and understanding among board members, students, staff, administrators, parents, and the community, so that all may interact for the benefit of the school district. You're intentionally causing strife and giving out false and inflammatory information, and I find it reprehensible that you won't participate in a board discussion about budget and referendum, but you will write letters to the editor with false and inaccurate information. You know the saying, don't let facts get in the way of a good story or a good letter. You're not hurting me, you're not hurting anyone here, you're hurting the students. And I think as a board member, that's nothing to be proud of. Item number 6, legislative update.
The big news in education this week is the Blue Ribbon Commission on School Funding made some recommendations. We're still anywhere from 2 to 10 years away from these recommendations coming to fruition. I've had conversations with John Bales, who's the director of the Wisconsin Association of School District Administrators Association, John Ashley, who's the director of the Wisconsin School Board Association, and Mike Thompson, the assistant superintendent at the Department of Public Instruction. But there are some things over time that could potentially benefit the River Valley School District, and I'll just read through 6 or 7 of those. Using a 5-year rolling average versus a 3-year rolling average for school districts that are experiencing declining enrollment would help just a little bit. Working on eliminating negative tertiary aid. Our school district, for those of you that don't know, we give back around $370,000 a year to the state because of our perceived high property value. And that comes right off the top, that's taxpayer dollars that goes back to the state. Working on the school levy tax credit, which the legislature counts as school aid, but is really just a form of property tax relief, so trying to work on that. Providing some aid increases for special education services, aid increases for low-income and bilingual students, expanding high-cost transportation and sparsity aid increases, and additional aid for mental health services in schools. And I just want to remind the board in my conversations with the 3 people that are very close to this from professional organizations, one gave me a guesstimate of about 10 years before a lot of that actually were to hit the schools, which is frightening.
No easy fixes.
There is no easy fix. These are encouraging, but it's not going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah. What did you say after eliminating negative tertiary aid, Tom?
The school levy tax credit, which is really property tax relief, but it's counted as a school aid. It provides property tax relief across the state of Wisconsin and counts as school aid.
Okay.
20% of that goes to out-of-state property owners, which is an interesting number.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Action items. Item number 1, consent agenda, checks, invoices, receipts, December 2018. Open session meeting minutes, December 13th, 2018.
I move we accept the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second, Joe.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2, consideration and action on sale of Lone Rock Building. We have 5 proposals, and you see them in your packet. I'll just kind of read through them, and I know we have some people in our audience that we'd like to give them a chance to speak. The first proposal is for $20,000 for Teresa Bass, utilizing the building for her own personal internet sales on eBay, including packing and shipping. Proposal 2 is $43,777 from Marty Limix. Proposal 3 for $15,000 from CLJ Investments. Consideration to use the building as a group home facility, and very interested in working with Lone Rock city officials to hear any ideas they may have in order to better meet the needs of the village. Other ideas under consideration include providing rental space for a gymnastics studio, dance studio, or an office complex. The fourth proposal is in the amount of $25,000, Tom Freiberg and Lisa Evans. Work with Ted Greenheck to survey out the school building and some of the property it sits on. Would then transfer ownership of this parcel to Michael Haidt, a member of the Lone Rock community. His intention is to develop this building into a small business, arts, and entertainment destination. This proposal entails a variety of potential uses, including food service, retail, and office space intended to serve the community and promote economic development. This proposal included a formal school repurposing plan. Proposal 5 is in the amount of $40,000, Lone Rock Shell LLC. So, proposal number 1, I'm just gonna take these in orders. Teresa Bass, do you want to talk about your proposal?
No, I'm good. I just want to let you know that we just want to do our own business in there. And then we talked about having the community in there for their food pantry and maybe a museum down the road.
Proposal 2, is Marty Limix here? Proposal number 3, is Jared Lemke here?
I just want to say thank you for considering our proposal. My name's Kerry Norman, one of the 3 partners there. I know you have a big decision ahead of you and stuff, and there's other dollars that are higher than us, but we just want to say that we would try to work with the community and the government officials there to benefit the community and make things possible. But it is kind of hard to go out and contact everybody when you don't own a piece of property. That's the real thing. I have contacted and I've talked to Tom, and the one individual that was really interested, meaning the sheriff's department there, the reason they backed out is not that they were very interested. They would hardly come up with space within the community in the county building that they're in now. So, once again, thank you very much for taking time to consider our proposal.
Thank you. The fourth proposal, Tom Freiberg and Ms. Evans.
I copied what he says. Thank you very much for considering our proposal. You guys obviously have a tough decision to make tonight. I think we spelled out in the proposal what our intent was. It is certainly an intent. There are quite a few obstacles in the way to get to what we'd like to do. But I wouldn't want to be a school member tonight to have to make that decision.
Thank you. Is there anyone here from the Lone Rock Shell LLC? And first of all, I'd like to say thank you for all the proposals that we did receive too.
And I'd just like to make an observation. I worked with most of these folks. They were very gracious and truly interested in using the building for their own purposes, but being great neighbors and good community members. So it was very refreshing. One individual did tell me to tell the board that he elected not to submit a proposal because he didn't want to deal with a board member on the River Valley School Board and the Lone Rock Village Board. So we are missing one proposal that we thought we might have. You wanted me to say it?
You want the mic back, huh?
So now it's up to us to discuss this and find the proposal that we recommend. Does anybody have any ideas or any leaning one way or the other? Or make any recommendations?
Tom, do you have any more information? I know that the additional notes, there are none, but is there any more information about the two proposals? Coincidentally, the highest proposals that don't give any information on use or
I had no
intention?
contact with either of those two individuals.
Okay.
You know, did you have any conversation with Marty? I mean, I don't know.
I worked with Marty for many, many years, and honestly, we never discussed this. He never brought it to my attention. I have absolutely no idea what he's considering there. I wish I could give insight, I can't.
Do you want to?
This is
Hi, I just have one question. Whatever you decide tonight, I'm sorry I didn't thank everybody and Tom for getting back to me when I called several times. And also, do you have any idea when a closing would be, if it is decided tonight, or I don't know when you're gonna decide for sure? And is it, I just wanted to say I have the cash on hand ready, but I don't know what your decision will be. Thank you.
Thanks.
I might add, I do know that Marty's vacationing with his family in Florida, so that's probably why he's not here.
Okay.
I do know.
I think we also had discussions at the building grounds that similar contingency would be that not be used as a K through 12 educational facility.
Well, that's written into the
Yep.
RFP, right?
correct.
Right, well, I just wanted to be clear for the rest of the board that that was not just something that we were placing on the villages. It was a contingency that went with the building regardless of who takes ownership.
Did anyone have any other questions or a recommendation?
I thank everybody for their proposals. How do we want to move forward?
You just need someone to make a recommendation on one of the proposals.
I don't know if I get asked, how do we have any kind of guidance or guidance from Building and Grounds or something on how we weigh these proposals in terms of intention? Do we have any information from the Village of Lone Rock about, did they have feelings about intention? Should that even matter? I don't know how to evaluate.
And we can evaluate on dollar amount?
And, yeah, right, we're not obligated to evaluate only on dollar amount, correct?
Correct, and that's why we didn't use a bid, we elected to use a proposal process. This was a process that our attorney outlined. In hindsight, if I ever do this again, it will ask for more detailed information about purposes of the building. The people that I worked with and had conversations with and showed the building understand that the sale is disconnected to zoning issues within the Village of Lone Rock. So that is then up to whoever the next owner is. It's not bearing on the school district at all.
And I get, Strode, you look like you want to say something.
Well, I know that Mr. Freeberg contacted me almost 2 years ago, shortly after the decision was made to close the building, and he's been very forthright in his, I mean, how should I say this? He was very upfront, very honest, and he seems to have he seems to have a plan. We don't know on two of these proposals what the plan is at all. Mrs. Bass's proposal is a plan, absolutely. But I would, and you know, CLJ Investments, it sounds like a great idea. I would be very interested in the group home facility, but I don't know what the possibilities of that are. It's a consideration to use the buildings. whereas Mrs. Bass and Mr. Freeberg have a plan.
And I just will note that I had, Mrs. Bass has probably been in contact with me at least over a year. Tom, and Lisa over a year, and the Lemke's went through the building sometime last spring, Norman's and Lemke's. So they've been, all three of those proposals have been interested in the building for a number of months.
Question. Do you have any option other than taking the high bid? Because if you're gonna base it on the use of the building, I think everybody needs to go back and reform their proposal.
It's a proposal, not a bid, so they can make a decision regardless of what the amount of the bid is.
Is that fair? Did everybody know that it was gonna be based on?
Everyone I talked to, I tried to give them that information, that it was a proposal and not a sealed bid
It's
process.
not a sealed bid process. So a sealed bid process would be solely on the highest, unless there was some other criteria that we were evaluating that would have to be stated. But generally, a sealed bid tends to be a price.
And we had that conversation at the committee and board meeting level as well.
I'm kind of advocating for the shell. They only learned of this, very recently and didn't have time to put a plan together.
I guess to the question though, from the building and grounds and the guidance, I think that the primary focus by building and grounds was working with the two municipalities, and the larger intent was that they would become a public facility of some type. I think after the fact, the way that the timing happened, I think that we were aware of some of these proposals kind of over the period of year, but the main focus was on how these might become public facilities, and then that these groups could then work with these villages, specifically the village of Little Rock with this building.
Do we have to make a decision tonight, or could
Yes.
we get more information on these other two?
No.
Doesn't ask for
We
more.
don't need to, do we? Why do we need to? Fred, explain that to me.
Well, we've been delaying this process.
Sure.
For, I don't know how many building and grounds meetings, we delayed this whole process, and we keep looking at each other and saying, we need to make a decision on this.
The only reason I ask is that question is when you look at the dollar values on there and the differences between the highest one and the lowest one. And I can imagine going home and in a couple days when this comes out, having taxpayers ask me, you need money for a referendum and
Why didn't you take
why
the
didn't
highest
you take
bid?
the highest bid? And I want to be able to
Conversely-
explain that to the taxpayers.
Conversely, we don't know, if we are allowed and charged with, as it says in the proposal, taking into account the best interest of the school district will be served, then if it turns out to be a usage that's problematic, then we're in hot water there too, so. Yeah, I mean, I get where you're coming from, Mark, that you guys have been putting this off a long time, and was mainly because of the village processes, from what I understand.
Right.
But, would it hurt to put it off another month? And
I think we should make a decision tonight.
okay.
And again, we were very clear in building and grounds about the proposal thing. We wanted to have a final say. We didn't want to be held to the highest bidder. And so, I would make a motion that we accept proposal number 4.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Any further discussion?
Kind of stemming off of Mark's, I think looking at the 3 proposals with plans that will help the community, and taking the highest proposal that will help the community and try to stem small business and try to get growth and bring people to the community, I think would be in the best interest of Little Rock.
Yeah, I guess I just wanna go on record that I'm uncomfortable. I will vote, but, with the information that I have, but I'm uncomfortable doing so when there's maybe more information that could be obtained.
Gotcha. There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No, sorry.
Motion carries.
Can I say thank you?
Good.
Our intent, our real intent here is, hopefully if there's a deficit in high bid versus our bid, hopefully within a 5-year period, you're recouping that in tax base. It's really our intent. I've done some development in Lone Rock. It's worked well. I certainly hope this goes the same way. Thank you.
Great, thank
I
you.
wish you luck in your endeavor.
Yeah, sir.
Other-
Kathy?
I'd like, on behalf of CLJ Investments, I want to also say thanks for looking at our proposal and understanding why we could not come up with a real clear vision. It's hard to go to other businessmen and say, I own this property,
Right.
and get them excited, and then it's not gonna happen. And I think that's kind of what happened with Jim and I also, is that, you know, it's pretty hard painting this picture out here without owning it. But once again, on behalf of CLJ Investment, we thank you very much for considering it, and maybe a school property coming up that you talked about, maybe we'll be back to see you on that one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 3, consideration and action on 2019-2021 swim team co-op with Richland School District.
Mr. Heckle?
Yeah, I can take that. Good evening. The swim co-op between Richland Center and River Valley has 2-year agreement has expired. This past season, we had 13 total swimmers, 11 from River Valley, 2 from Richland Center. From our perspective, our coach Mike Knockreiner, his input, and the input from Richland Center, their activities director, Steve Ford, we're all in favor of continuing this co-op for another 2 years. So I'm asking that you approve that, so we can get that paperwork submitted to the WIA by February 1st.
And they, kind of the swapping between the pools, I know they start in the.
Yeah, they start in the outdoor pool here, and then.
It's all working well.
Yep, there's some practice time at the Simon Center and Richland Center, and then when the weather, after the 1st of October, and then there's also practice time at the facility in Fairview that we travel to, so.
So this will be another 2-year contract.
Yep.
Motion to approve 2-year contract for a swim team co-op with Richland Center School District.
Second, Sarah?
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4, consideration and action on WASB convention resolutions. Deb, you will go to the board as the delegate, you're the delegate for the board of the convention, so you will be voting on all these resolutions. So we just need to take action to have you as the
If
delegate.
somebody has something, I think what it is a lot of times what we do is we tell whoever's the delegate, if there's something in particular where we have either a problem with, or a lot of times we direct the delegate to use their own judgment.
Vote their conscience,
Vote
is
their
generally how
conscience
it's
kind of
stated.
thing. Unless there's something somebody specifically wants pulled out and talk about. Give me direction on it.
So we would make a motion for Deb to vote on the resolutions at the WASB convention.
Correct.
I would make the motion that we allow Ms. Nelson to represent our school district at the WASB delegate convention and vote on our behalf.
Is there a second?
A second?
Sure. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5, consideration and action on resolutions accepting resignations, if any.
We have no resignations at this time.
Great. Item number 6, consideration and action on hirings, if any.
We have no hirings at this time.
Item 7, consideration and action on resolutions accepting gifts.
And once again, we have a number of gifts from our community. We have a $200 anonymous donation to Fund 21 for families in need. We have a $500 donation specifically to the middle school lunch program from Barb Baxter, former teacher. We have a $50 donation to the middle school Shakespeare group from James and Jamie Radke in memory of Lois Qualley. We have a $500 anonymous donation to the middle school Shakespeare group in memory of Lois Qualley. We have an $816 donation for high school football game pants from the Athletic Booster Club. We have a $390.72 donation. I try to go too fast. For high school football game jerseys from the Athletic Booster Club. We have $3,000 to the 5th grade overnight trip from Smoke in the Valley. We have an additional, that isn't on your board packet, an anonymous donation of $1,000 to the high school business department. And once again, thank you to our community for their generosity.
Motion to approve the gifts?
Second.
Kylie? It's a resolution, so we'll take a roll call.
John?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Mark?
A grateful yes.
And Sarah?
Yes.
9 yes.
Motion carries. And I will second what Tom said, we have a very generous community. Item number 8, consideration and action on policy committee recommendations. We have several policies for first reading. The first one is 447, closed door student conferences. This policy is in place basically to reduce the risk that a staff member may be falsely accused of some impropriety. So we just have some language in there that when an administrator holds a closed door session with a student, a witness must be present or others must be able to see through the window. If this is not the case, such as with some of our guidance.
If it's confidential, nursing,
Confidential.
guidance, school psychologists, those kinds of.
There may not be
meetings.
a window where people can see in, they would just need to document the conference. So this is not only to protect the students, but to protect the teachers and the staff. The next item is, policy is 443.1, student dress code. The last time this was looked at was back in 1998, and we all know things have sure changed since then. So we had Lisa Chose and Megan Bunkum who looked at our dress code policy and updated it and just made it workable.
Just for the public's notice, it does not mean uniforms.
Is this all new language?
At this time.
It's all new in this particular policy.
It was much more detailed last time, the previous version?
You mean from 98?
Yes.
It was, they shouldn't wear clothes that affect the health or safety of students. Don't wear clothes that disrupt the learning process. So the one that we have in place now is probably a little more specific. You know, we don't want them showing intimate parts or they're just a little bit
Gang
more.
symbols.
Yeah.
We don't want them showing, you know, alcohol or tobacco on their clothes, things like that. Just a little more relevant than 1998.
Okay.
The next policy is 861, school volunteers. We added a link which that background and checks and consumer reports will be looked at on all volunteers. And we just had a couple language updates. We changed the disclosure statements for the volunteer and for the employees. I think Brian worked with Eileen Brownlee on updating those exhibits. Basically because who we go through, they use fair credit reporting, and so we just need to let them know.
Yeah, basically our employees and volunteers are gonna have to read a lot more before they sign the disclosure statement for this.
And it's all very exciting, like
Yes.
6 pages of it. The next one is field trips. we just added that the board approval is needed for trips outside of the United States. That's kind of what we currently do, so we just had the policy follow that. Then, the next one, early college credit. Darby looked at this for us. This was all updated. It used to be youth options program, and now there's updated language for River Valley for the early college credit programs, dual credits for the UW system, and then the next policy, Start College Now, is for technical colleges. Darby, if there's anything else you want to add, throw it in now. Otherwise,
So youth options is no longer.
Correct. The state keeps changing these
Okay.
programs about every other year, so it requires us to then change the policies, because there's
That's cool.
language about who pays for things.
That's cool, I just wanna make sure I
Yes.
understood what was happening.
and then the last one is administering medication to students. We had our nurse look at this, and she added a word under number 2. Do you want to say that for me?
Oh, contraindicated. Thank you.
We added that to our policy. Very impressive. Does everybody know what that means? Okay. And then,
Everybody's just nodding.
Means it doesn't go together. Things that don't go together.
but fancy, stated very fancy. We added overnight and out-of-state or out-of-country field trips. We just added some language about self-administration of medication. And again, our nurse added this language. Those are all the policies that we have for first reading. Are there any questions? Any clarification?
Good job, policy committee, as always.
So I'd entertain a motion to bring those to the board for first reading.
So moved.
Sarah, is there a second? Kylie. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9, consideration and action on Budget Employee Relations Committee recommendations.
So we've had numerous meetings since our last full school board meeting, and I think most of you have been there, so, yeah. So I don't know how much we need to rehash of all of our discussions, but basically, we do not have any recommendations for the full board. We have basically been stalemated on, I think, 2 issues. One is a referendum of the exact same dollars that the last referendum was for, or a referendum that comes back with less dollars, so we would make some reductions in the budget. We had numerous proposals that were voted 1 to 3 and 2 to 2, so we just couldn't get a majority on any single proposal. So we kind of passed it off to bring it to the board. Unfortunately, we really tried to bring a recommendation, but we just couldn't get there. So I don't know if anybody wants to rehash what the variety of proposals we had, and then we also have a discussion here out for the community survey if we want to talk about people's opinions on the survey results. Discuss that a little bit.
Why don't you talk about the survey results first, and then that'll lead us into the next part of our discussion.
Okay, so I don't know if everybody looked at it, there's a 12-page document that's attached in the out on the portal. That first few questions are age and whether you have kids in school or graduated from here, what age those kids are. But basically, I think when you get to the end, it says there's 2 or 3 questions about why did or didn't you support a referendum, what would you or wouldn't you support in the future, and I think the answers that were presented to us and their reasoning are lack of transparency, not balancing your budget, living within our means. To the other extreme is we'll support the district and the children no matter what the referendum is. So we really had kind of a wide scope. I don't know personally that this gave me a lot of direction in where I want to go from here. All of the responses, I think it's a nice sampling though. I'm sure there's maybe 2 or 3 times this, but I don't know if anybody else has different feelings on the answers that they saw.
I know that Sarah's asked for the raw data, the unedited data, and I don't know that I don't think that's gotten to you yet. But
Did they say they'd give it to us?
Yeah.
Okay.
The tax impact was the other one. Those are the people that didn't want to see their taxes go up. They said they could afford it.
I guess what, I'm not sure that this is as useful for our decision tonight, but assuming if we do go forward with another referendum, I think this will be useful in the places where we need to communicate more or better or in a different way so people understand what's at stake and what's going on. That's how it was useful to me.
I agree. I think there are items that were brought to our attention that we can easily address. I mean, a lot of us feel we address those quite regularly, but again, driving home the points of emphasis, the truth, that athletics is not bankrupting our district, that information is available and easily acquired. There's things that we can do to dispel some of these issues. There are issues here that we can't. Could never convince a person that votes their pocketbook exclusively to vote for a tax increase no matter what the circumstances.
Okay, so we need to look at the dollar amount of the referendum that we're thinking about. So one of them is keep it the same as last year. Show the list of cuts that we are going to make if it doesn't pass. The other thing to keep in mind is that our needs have increased, but we're gonna still ask for the same amount, and so there might be a shorter list of possible cuts that we're going to need to make to make up that difference over the next couple of years. But definitely black and white. This is what we're asking for. If we don't get it, this is what is gonna be cut. I feel like that's the way we need to go. I hear from people that they don't want to chop us off at the legs before we even get a chance. So that's how I feel like we should go.
Since coming out of the last board meeting, I felt very strongly that we needed to look at a smaller number. And I think it was very helpful to listen to the discussion of the budget committee. And there was a lot of information that kind of came in, different approaches, listening to the 4 members talk, that got me to reconsider this a little bit. We are going to be having to make cuts, we know that. Even with a successful referendum, there's still going to be the fact that our reducing population will continue to get smaller, and we're going to have to make adjustments to meet that need. At this point, I'm thinking that if we go for the 6.55 like we did last time, and start a very strong conversation about how we are going to, through the 3 years, make those needed cuts with that match and not negatively impact our education.
And I think we already have a short list of that.
Yeah, and I think this longer list of should the referendum pass, I think, there may be people that think, well, what, 1 or 2 of these, but I mean, we're going to have to cut half of that list. Just, in 1 year. And with that,
If it doesn't pass.
if it doesn't pass, then that's going to dramatically impact our district in the negative, I mean, to the point of destroying it. And I think, once we go down that path, I think it's going to be very short that we're either going to have to look at dissolving or drastically reducing the size of our district.
I think if we look at the two numbers, the 6.5 and the 5.9, the two numbers that we're kind of considering. On the taxpayer side of things, if you look at over the next 3 years on what savings you're gonna get from those two numbers, it's minimal compared to what we'd have to cut to get to that 5.9 would really, change it, would make our class sizes bigger, it would cut, make our teachers have a larger workload. I think it's a lot bigger impact on the teaching and student side of things for very little savings on the taxpayer side of things. I think we need to stick with the 6.5. Otherwise, we're gonna start the process already of a downward spiral. Then we're gonna, again, my example at the budget committee meeting was last fall, we did a number of 6.5. That was our projection for the next 3 years. And just from then till this point where we're at right now our new number is 7.58. So we cut money off the front right now, and for factors that we can't control, our budget changes. We have no control
So
of
you're
that.
saying that we're gonna have to tighten our belts anyway, even.
Exactly.
So
We
just
get
because we're going for the same number doesn't mean that we're not doing anything. I just want that to be clear.
Exactly, because we have, our projected 3-year budget right now is 7.58.
Deficit.
So there is gonna be some stuff going forward that we're gonna have to do.
Can I just ask, what is the difference from the two proposals, what that would be broken down into for the taxpayer?
Brian, what was that we went over?
Yeah, I got it up.
You got it? Go ahead.
Yeah, so the proposal that took us down to 5.975 was the reduction or eliminating, repairing the track, eliminating 1 bus route, the reduction of 1 middle school math teacher, 1 high school science teacher, the technology coach, 6th through 12 business ed teacher, K-12 librarian, and reduction in the CPI of 0.5%.
But that's not what you're asking, is it?
It wasn't.
You're looking at the tax, like on a $200,000 home.
Exactly.
What's
So,
the difference?
what's the difference there?
Just,
We talked on a $100,000 home, it was roughly $10.
Okay.
$10 a year for
A
3
year.
years.
For $100,000.
Difference, yeah.
Per $100,000 of assessed property
Yep.
value.
Right.
Just speaking to what you were
Yeah.
saying, Jeff.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I think the difference between the concept of leaving it the same and coming back with a smaller number, from my perspective, was, I think we voted on the 6.5 and it got voted down. And I feel an obligation to do something to make an effort to reduce that number. And I know that $10 per 100,000 for 3 years isn't a big amount of money out of your pocket, but it's the significance of making the attempt to make some reductions that I feel, after talking with administration, teachers, and other people in the district, that we can get by with, that aren't gonna sacrifice programs. Yes, we may have some bigger classrooms or class sizes, but it isn't gonna start to destroy our education of our kids. And I believe that when we can afford to trim things, we need to trim them regardless of our financial situation. And I think some of these things we can get by with, and I would prefer to go back with a smaller number and show the effort.
I appreciate that.
I certainly don't have a crystal ball, and they both may pass or they both may fail, but I think it means something to come back with a smaller number.
I'm scared about this 6.5 number. It failed once, and I just think it's got this ominous air about it, real or perceived, it doesn't matter. I think we need to come back with a lower number and show that we're serious. I know people that told me that they voted yes for the first time because they thought we were getting serious. And the consequences of a second failure at 6.55 are catastrophic.
And I don't think we need to have the list ready by the end of tonight, but I would hope within a month here, we would get the list. If it 6.5 doesn't pass, this is what's gonna get cut. And I think that's why we don't have athletics on there, cut them off, because we don't believe, I believe that's a huge part of the students being here.
Activities, please?
Activities.
Yeah, seriously.
The whole
Yeah.
gamut.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
We do have that on the list.
We have
It is
a
on
little
the
bit.
The whole program.
The whole thing's on the
co-curricular
list.
program is on the list.
It's on the list of cuts.
Like, I thought like 12%.
No,
No, the whole thing
That's
is on
the
the
whole
list.
thing, the
One
whole
of
thing.
our,
Where
one
do
of
we
our
end up?
One of the
iterations was, yeah.
But what I was trying to get at is the list that we will come out with is things that we are going to cut. If there's not gonna be any, oh, I guess we're not gonna, this is the list, this is what's gonna get cut, black and white, that's it. And it's, I don't think the list is official yet, but I'd like to get it there within a month.
Well, I guess one just adjustment on that is I think that this list that we are referring to is on the webpage. People have been seen. I see this as these are the items that we are going to be picking from should the referendum fail. I don't know that we are going to be providing a list of saying that this is gone and this isn't. It's, this list is what's going to be picked from.
Right, but I don't think we've ever voted as a board that this is the list.
Correct.
So,
I see what you're saying.
that's.
I actually, for what it's worth, think we should make those decisions ahead of time.
I think we should within a month here. Like, I
That's
don't
what
know
I'm
if we
saying.
have to do it.
I don't know if that's different from what Fred's saying or the same.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, there's two lists. There's the list that is, I'm not sure if we're thinking all on the same page here,
Yeah.
but there is the list of total cuts that was presented to us. That is the possibility of cuts if it fails.
For
And then-
2.2.
Right,
2.2.
and then there is the, and then are you talking about the list that we might cut? When we go to referendum for the low, if we go at 6.5 versus 5.9, there will be cuts for this next year to get to balanced budget. Is that what you mean? I guess I just want to clarify. The vote that you want to vote on by next month, is that the cuts?
Yeah, I just would like to clarify what the official list is.
Oh, okay, yeah, just making sure. Sorry.
Because
So the objective tonight is to pick the number and to decide.
And to in fact decide to go to referendum, right?
Yes, but we have to pick the number, and that number is then put into a resolution that goes to referendum.
I guess I think I'm pretty clear, but I'm not completely clear from all, you know, and I don't know if we can vote on it separately, but if everybody is in favor or a majority is in favor of actually going to another referendum in April, and holding another referendum in April.
The question on hand, though, is budget cuts, which will then dictate a potential referendum amount. So if you're looking on the agenda, what you're deciding right now, we're gonna have to make cuts to get to either 6.55 or 5.97. So what we're looking for right now is direction on cutting to 6.55 or cutting to 5.97 as a potential referendum number. Then the next item will be a resolution regarding the referendum itself, I believe, on the agenda.
Oh, okay, we do it in that order, okay.
So first of all, we're just going through the I don't know if there's is there a motion on the floor or not?
No.
Okay, so right now, we're on 9. And that's just what the budget committee's been doing. And John said there was no recommendation, so we're still having conversation about that. Then we'll go to 10, and at 10, it sounds like to me that you're gonna recommend as a group to potentially cut down to 6.55 or cut down to 5.97. Excuse me. Because I just want to clarify, because resolution then, if you want to go to referendum, that would be another step.
Correct, without the detailed Yeah. Line by line cuts.
Yes. Correct.
Yes. Okay, also, to clarify Sarah's comment, I believe back in either October or November, we assigned the budget committee the task of coming back here with a referendum proposal. I thought we were all, as a majority, agreed we were going to go to referendum. I don't think that's a question anymore.
Okay.
That's months
Okay.
ago.
Okay. I did not realize
Thank
that.
you.
That's why we had those.
That's
lengthy
why we had
meetings.
all these
Okay.
meetings.
I don't believe that was ever clarified.
I don't think
You don't think so?
I think
I don't think we took action on it, I think it's gonna soon, but.
I thought that was the reason for the budget committee to have those number of meetings.
We were working under that assumption.
Our external feedback loop believes that we
So
did not take action on that.
I just want to say, I do strongly agree with John and Stroh. I'm very concerned about perception. However, over this last month, in the holidays, and talking with a lot of people throughout the community, became very clear, and from this, that it wasn't the number. It was, I'm not voting for it, or I'm voting for it, and the number was not the issue. And some of the reasons to vote no, I think, were based on a lot of misinformation. And there was also people that were just not informed. And that is kind of brought my thinking back to leaning towards the 6.55, knowing that that's still not going to be fun, because we are still going to be looking at making cuts to some of our programs, reduction.
And maybe we just need to be more upfront with our folks and just say, you know, this is what we're looking at cutting. I mean, get potential lists out there, be it 6.55 or 5.9. Get lists out there so that people know what they're gonna lose if this referendum fails. And then throw a few things down the road too, like the dissolution of our school district as it currently stands, which would please some of the members of the school district, but.
Sarah? I'll just jump in that I align closely with you, Fred, actually. That I started off strongly thinking that we should go for a lower amount, and actually as recently as last night was maybe tossing that around still. My highly scientific sample on Facebook, my Facebook survey, I got, almost universal. Of course, I was kind of preaching to the choir, but most people, I talked to, the number didn't make a difference, and hearing that it's really it's such a small amount over 3 years brought me around to the 6.55 number. Though it was very hard to just to come to that conclusion. And I will just say too that I just want to be. We talk about that our projection now is the projected deficit over 3 years is 7.5-ish million. And I just want everybody to understand that those projections they change. There are so many factors, and they change a lot. They change based on the most up-to-date information that we get from a whole lot of different factors. And so again, it's one of those things. It sounds a little weird. How could that happen in a year? So I just urge anybody that has questions about that to please talk to us and find out why that is, because it's one of those things that I fear just sounds weird to people and doesn't sound right. But it's all on the up and up. It's all based on the most relevant recent information. So, just want to say that in front of Doris.
And John, to touch on your point quick on feeling obligated to make cuts. Of course, if as a board and as administration, if we do see there is room that we can be more efficient, we will do that as a board and as administration, because we definitely want to keep us running as efficient as possible. It's not like we're trying to throw a slush fund together or something.
Right. Thank you for saying that, because I also I did look at those. I agree with John on that, absolutely, and I also think in those positions that get us to 5.975. I just feel like it's going too far at this point if we have a chance not to.
John, were you gonna go? You touched on class sizes in high school. Where did that conversation go? Did you make a determination there? Because the 2010 survey indicated that the majority of people in this district approved of larger classes in high school. So where did that conversation go?
I don't know that we specifically talked about the class sizes in the high school, other than when you look at the list of administrative, I don't want to use the word proposed, but the list of potential reductions. Any of them that are in, I mean, across the board, but especially in high school, the classes get bigger. I mean, I think the survey that the administrative team put together, I think they went anywhere from, 27 to 29, some were up into the 32, 34, somewhere in there. I think they changed depending on the class, so.
It also impacted the offerings that were
Yes.
going to be made available. I mean, we couldn't have the same level of math, English, AP courses, things like that. I mean, staff are in charge of multiple classes. They have a full day that they are working. And you get rid of certain classes, or teacher, you're getting rid of multiple classes.
Our high school is actually going to grow in population next year because we have a smaller class exiting 12th grade and a larger class coming from 8th grade to 9th. So there'll be more students in the high school next year.
I see 429 was on the sheet, right?
As of today,
Yeah, 429.
and we have a class of what is 90?
92 or 93 graduating.
And so the 8th grade class is bigger than the 12th grade class. So our high school will be growing next year. There'll be more kids in the building.
Kylie, did you want to say something?
Oh, I just wanted to say that I feel similarly as Freddie said. Originally, I wanted to go for 7.5, but then I found that would be the dream. But, then I felt we needed, I felt a smaller number was better, and over the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've seen a change, and I think I feel more comfortable with my 6th grade plan.
John, did you have anything more on the budget committee, item number 9? Otherwise, we could move on.
No, I mean, the other things then that we were hoping to have, if we came up with a recommendation, then we would actually have a number, and we would have had the resolutions approved or a recommendation, and we didn't get that far, so, yeah, kind of.
Mary.
Just in reference.
Mary, you got to talk up really loud.
Oh, okay. In reference to John's comment, we have to be in good faith, show the public we are trying to make the best cuts under the circumstances. From what I just heard tonight, the number of 6.5 went up to 7.5. Now it's back down to 6.5. So for the people who are concerned, like, hey, you didn't do anything, you can honestly tell them, according to the projections, we've wiped out $1 million. So in good faith, for those people who are concerned about cuts and everything, you can go back and say to them, we're looking at getting rid of $1 million. But I am for the 6.5.
Thank you, Mary.
And we're supposed to get that message to all the people who didn't know the referendum was even being voted on in November and who think we're not transparent. So now all of a sudden we're supposed to miraculously tell them that we're going for the same number, yet we're cutting $1 million.
It's
Good
a
luck.
hard message. It is a tricky message
You're
for
gonna
sure.
confuse people.
Yeah.
Good luck.
But I get your point.
With that, we'll move on to item number 10, consideration and action on budget cuts. So based on our discussion, item 9, does anybody have a recommendation?
I don't know how you want the motion worded, but I would make a motion that we proceed with the 6.55 number and make the cuts that we need to make up the difference of what we're actually over.
Sir, Are you saying make a motion to cut to 6.55?
Yes.
Yes. Is it?
Yes.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any further discussion?
I guess I don't quite understand, what, we're cutting to 6.55 from 7.55, is that what we're cutting?
5.7 over the next 3 years, yes.
And everybody knows what that, you understand that that's the amount of the referendum. Which would still, the amount of the referendum would be 6.55, which would take about $1 million of cuts for us to make, yes. Okay.
Over 3 years.
Over 3 years, yeah.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
Motion carries. Item number,
What's the vote on something like that?
It's a majority, simple majority. I guess
Yeah,
I
so
don't-
what, so how do you do a vote, like for Deb, what do you put in the minutes? What was the
I
vote?
put down,
7-2 or 6-2 to?
I usually put a
no
V
comment,
for
or-
voice vote, and I put how many didn't voted against.
If someone doesn't vote, it's affirmative, it's a yes.
Okay.
If I don't hear you,
So 7-2.
so there's,
I just write down the number of people I heard say no, and who they were.
So by not voting, you're essentially voting.
Can I,
So I just want to make it clear, so
got that.
Stroh and I were no, and
Yes.
the other 7 approved.
Correct.
6.5 reference.
Yes.
Okay. We're all on the same page, paper and the villages and.
Correct.
Yeah.
item number 11, consideration and action on resolution to exceed revenue limit in the 2019, 2020 through 2021, 2022 school years.
So basically, we've established that the number is 6.55.
We still need to make a resolution to action.
So I make a motion.
Freddie made it in August, it's in the September minutes.
Motion to adopt a resolution to exceed the revenue limit of
That's,
the night.
I make a motion to adopt a resolution to exceed the revenue limit in the 2019, 2020 through 2021 through 2022 school years
I have-
for 6.55 million.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
It's Jeff. It's a resolution, so we'll do a roll call.
Kylie,
Yes.
Fred,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Dan,
No,
I'll vote yes. Mark
No.
and Sarah
Yes.
and John.
No.
So we have 6 yes, 3 no.
Motion carries. Item number 12, consideration and action on resolution providing for a referendum on the question of the approval of a resolution to exceed revenue limit in the 2019, 2020 through 2021, 2022 school years.
So this is just to, whether or not to have a referendum.
To get it on the ballot,
To get it on the ballot.
At what point is the actual year by year dollar, or don't we approve that? We just approve the total and then,
We did that last time. We did it year by year.
It's a good question.
We didn't know what total to put in here, so we probably can figure it out
Well,
quickly.
we did 3. So do you want the year by year totals?
Yeah.
So
why
year,
do we have to approve
Well-
that, or is
That
that?
would be the resolution language.
Don't we need to know what we're
Yep.
cutting first?
can we,
No, no, this is a resolution to get it on the ballot and the number and how it breaks out in the year by year. And then we have to make the decision on what the cuts we have to make. And this is purely, this
I got it,
this
I got
discussion
it.
is
I just-
only regarding the resolution right now.
I'm just referring to if we're cutting the one large item that is a one-time cut. I thought we were talking about that would,
we would need to do about $200,000 in recurring money to get to the 6.55.
okay, and would it make the first year of the 3 years smaller?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
but you know how to
I
So
have
that's
the-
why I said that, that's why I said that.
Yeah, it's a good point. So I have the numbers based on if we reduce, it's about $600,000 in year one. So if we do track bus route, CPI, we're talking
Yeah.
about another, less than $200,000 to get to the $600,000 number.
So you've
And then
factored in the track?
Yep, I have, yep.
Then I'm okay to do that.
Yep. So we should probably amend that last one actually, to include the three, or do you wanna do the next one? Do the next one. So the 3-year breakdown is in year one, which is 1920, $883,000. In year two, $2,454,000. And year three, $3,213,000. Total of $6.55 million.
What was the second?
Second was 2454000.
And 3 again, sorry?
Yep, 3213000.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
Now, those cuts don't have to be made before the referendum. So we don't have to do those now, right?
No.
The cuts to get to 6.55, we're gonna be looking for direction next month from the.
Exactly.
Yep.
But I'm
Yeah,
saying we
but
don't need to do
cuts
that
to get down to
tonight.
like 1.4 or 1.8.
Yep, we can do that next month.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it were to fit.
Right. Then we would have to, then April becomes,
So where are we?
Looking for a motion on item number 12.
Brian, the first year again was what,
$883,000.
83. I don't know how best to, do you have the language that I can look at in the resolution? The draft?
Yep, absolutely.
So I make a motion to approve a resolution to exceed the revenue limits in the year 2019 to 2020 through 2020, 2021, 2022 school years. For revenue limits not to exceed $883,000 for year one, $2,454,000 or $1,000 for year two. That would really, and $3,213,000 for year three, for a total of $6.55 million, non-recurring.
Second.
Is there any further discussion?
I'm sorry, I'm confused about whether, is this the thing that we,
This is gonna go on the ballot now.
this is the bathroom, okay. Got it, all right.
In reference to my vote, I may not agree on the sum, but I want to go to referendum. So I'm a little bit confused as to what I'm voting on here, I'm sorry.
Well, it's already been determined that you're going on,
Okay.
and the sum is determined, so you can, in sense now, that's decided. So this vote is each of these votes are independent entities.
First one was to, Mark, the first one was to exceed the revenue limit.
Right.
Now this one's to put it on the ballot. So we just have to have two different motions.
So I guess you could, yeah,
So you can argue for what number is going to be, and then you can support
going to
referendum. Or not.
or not, yeah.
That's right.
I'm not, yeah, agree.
Any other discussion?
Right.
We have a motion and a second?
Go ahead. You have a second? I had a question.
Yeah, this is the time for discussion.
I just get, okay, this is how the referendum is gonna be worded, right? We're actually gonna put numbers on the referendum.
They have always been on the referendum, Dan. I don't know why this is so hard for you to grasp, but this has always been on every referendum. You have to state the numbers for each year of the referendum. You voted on the last one then, the same way. Sorry, but this is frustrating as all get out.
It's also very complicated.
It is not complicated.
It is complicated, but what's complicated to one person might not be to another, so. So, yes, the answer is yes.
Yes.
Correct.
Dan, don't tell anyone they're out of order, I get to do that. Is there any further discussion? All right, it's a motion, and there's a second, it's a resolution, so we'll take a roll call.
Fred,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Dan,
No.
I'll vote yes. Mark,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
John,
No.
Kylie,
Yes.
7 yes, 2 no.
Motion carries. Item number 13, consideration and action on special meeting date. We don't need this
don't need it?
because of the work we just finished. Item number
Madam
14.
President, can I ask you a question? So at the next budget meetings, before we come back here, what are you going to be looking for recommendations, referendum wise, so we kind of know how to steer, or what you want from us?
I'd like some backup here. I'd like a list of, if it doesn't pass, this is what we're cutting. And
Plus
then
the million.
plus the cuts that we are going
Are recommending.
recommending for the million.
Yeah, so I would say cuts to get us to
2655, to trim down that.
So there's gonna be the short list and then the long list.
Well, I was gonna say
I would do it on a year-by-year basis.
Yeah, I was gonna say year by
So
year.
I would ask for cuts in year one to match what we're going to
get down.
increase in revenue.
To get to the 883.
Yep.
need, okay.
Yep, and then a larger list of cuts to occur if the referendum were to fail.
Okay, is it wrong to have everybody on this board study the list that you guys gave for potentials and not actually state the 1.4? Do we need to do that? Or can we just say, if it fails, we're gonna take 1.4 out of this 2.2?
I think it's a better way to do it.
I do too. Oh, wait, no.
No more specifics, because we don't know exactly. We have to look at our enrollment, that's where we have to have conversations with administration, how can we get by with what we have to cut?
I feel like we should come up with that. I personally, I get both scenarios. I think it's better to come up with the specific list, what will happen if the referendum fails, not just the list of possibilities. I think that's fairer to teachers whose jobs depend on it. And I think that's what I'm hearing from the public that they want to know. That's what I'm hearing from constituents that I've talked to.
Okay.
Specifics?
Yeah, I mean, that's teachers I'm talking to and people I'm talking to in the community. I think at this point, they want to see what's at stake.
Okay, so for the budget
Not just a
committee-
laundry list, but specifics.
So for the budget committee, then, I think we go through that list like we did a month ago, line by line, and get enough to make a recommendation and bring it back to the board at the February meeting or the March meeting?
February.
February, okay.
And then also,
We might have to add that, Paul and Brian, to our
Agenda.
agenda, because I don't know if I saw that on there.
and then we also need to look at cuts to get to the 800.
Yeah.
Yes, but not the following, right?
I would do annually.
Right, so we're
If
just
you start
doing those.
doing, I mean,
We can't project that.
Yeah.
Right, right, okay, just check, okay.
Item number 14, consideration and action to adjourn to closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.851F for discussion of request for use of reimbursable leave sharing program. Do I have a motion to move into closed session?
Second.
We'll take a roll call to move into closed session.
Kathy?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Dan? I'll vote yes. Mark?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
John?
No.
Are you serious? You don't want to go to closed session?
Thank you, everybody, for your time, energy, and effort.
Just thank you in detail for just the life of what you don't have to get into it, but
Really good strange.
Okay.
generally what happened and then your conversation, what you might be at.
Did anybody on the school board leave here's last school board meeting? Anybody leave a Chromebook here? It's not a school Chromebook, it's a personal Chromebook.
He never says anything.
We have like 3 of this. It's not